What opinion or behavior would stop you being romantically interested in someone, even if they ticked every other box? Minimizing my accomplishments. I knew this woman. And if I said something like, I got a promotion at work instead of saying that it was great and that I was great at my job, she'd say something like, yeah well didn't you say Bill has really been helping you out with stuff? Apostrophe. Or if I said, I finally beat an Ironman run of XCOM 2, she'd say, I wish you'd find a more productive hobby. Apostrophe. Listen lady, XCOM is draining, I worked hard at this. Hoarding. I made this mistake once. I got into a relationship with a hoarder. I eventually realized that her deeply dysfunctional relationship to objects extended to the people around her. I was not an actual person. I was just another acquisition that was acquired and subsequently treated shabbily. I'm not sure if this is common, but I won't take the chance again. I just imagine you're sent to a room with like 50 other guys and they all say in unison, another one! Exclamation mark. Apostrophe. Being condescending. I hate it. It makes me angry. Be nice to people. Except they may not be as knowledgeable as you on a subject. Don't condescend. I had an ex who was not exactly condescending, but he never once said oh really? I didn't know that. In 5 years of relationship, he always knew everything, even when it was obvious he didn't. He told me he would much rather make small talk with a stranger than have a deep conversation with good friends. I don't know why I didn't see it before, but that described perfectly why we never connected on a deeper level. After being together for 2 years, we tried but I couldn't make it work after that realization. Weirdly, it sounds like you finally had an almost deep conversation, and he turned out to be a veritable stranger. If only he had stuck to his original rules. Nicely worded. There's poetry in the strangest places on Reddit. Adult tantrums. Yep. Dated someone who I thought was great, but would regularly yell and throw tantrums when frustrated. Not directed at me, just general adult tantrums. It was almost funny at first because I didn't think it was serious. It was though. If they have toxic friends, for a lot of reasons, I would have thought I could deal with it, but I really agree with that. My ex's best friend was one of the worst people I have ever met, and that should have been a major red flag. I firmly believe you are the company that you keep. Even if you're not a bully like someone in your circle. If you're not calling them out then you're enabling. Edit gonna add in what I wrote in reply to another person further down this thread. If you have attachment issues and you stick around with toxic folks, good chance you have toxic qualities too, like not being able to enforce boundaries, be cling, etc. If your company is miserable, you're probably miserable too. There are maybe some exceptions, but I'm speaking in general terms and this primarily applies to adults who have personal agency over their actions, unless they are being violently threatened, manipulated, and or being physically coerced. No one has to stay friends a toxic person. Some people have to learn the hard way, and it's part of life. I'm not condemning everyone who has toxic friends, but not actively being a bad person doesn't make you a good one either was part of my point. If the person you are dating makes you feel small, not in a physical sense, but like you're less than them, I've learned that's my first sign to book it out of there, in a way that they're condescending and discount your thoughts and beliefs, or in a way that they're just smart, which is intimidating. I personally love the smart to the point of intimidation. I love learning new things, and people that brilliant tend to be enthusiastic about areas of expertise. It's when they lord the knowledge over you and make you feel like an idiot for not knowing the same things they do. Like the lucky 10,000XKCD. There's a difference between sharing information and being snobbish or elitist about it. Scientology. I feel like don't date cultists should be number 1 on a list of dating tips. Throw thumbs up. Now you tell me. Never holding my hand or not having any non-sexual physical contact. It never occurred to me that this would bug me, but at the end it made me feel like she didn't care about me and only wanted to duck me. Had an ex where this happened. My best friend's little sister died in a car crash, and I was torn up about it. He became indifferent towards me because I was too depressed to be with. If someone can't handle being a decent human being when I'm heartbroken, what are they going to act like when it's my mom? Dad? Dog even? Whoops, sorry, but I don't wanna hang out because you're sad. Apostrophe. Younger. I got dumped because I cried about my pet rabbit dying. I kept crying for the bun, but never did for the girl, lol. It's not what a man would do, duck that. Entitled behavior. People who act like the world owes them everything when they were raised with more than most people. People who demand respect but treat others poorly. Friend went on a date where the girl virtually had a tantrum at the wait staff until she got what she wanted when it was her duck up, and then looked incredibly self-satisfied and smiled at him as if he should be proud of her. Nope. Arrived separately. Left separately. Years ago I saw a couple seated at the table next to mine in a restaurant, and the woman demanded something that they stopped serving there, was incredibly rude about it, berating the waiter for its removal, saying that they must still have the ingredients. And when the manager came out, she said that she deserves her meal free. It was at that point her date stands up and tells her to get her own ride home and strolls out the door. Young couple to like 20 over 21-ish. I probably would have clapped for the date as they walked out. Extreme materialism. Whoop, this is it for me. I admit that I do consider myself a minimalist. But if people can't prioritize their finances because they need to live beyond their means, that's not hot. The one that surprised me about myself was a Winnie voice. Person had everything else going for them, but after a few hours I just couldn't stand the thought of listening to that voice over the long haul. Same, I went out with one who I swear I was debating if I should just say duck it and leave. She didn't shut up, and her voice was like a weird mix of raspy cigarette voice mixed with a child's. Was horrible, made my ducking ears hurt. I'm horribly self-conscious about my voice, and this is exactly how I would describe it. An 8-year-old with a pack-a-day habit. Not cute at all. I respect everyone's right to be picky, but dang, I would almost guarantee that a lot of people out there like your voice. I love unique voices. Bad hygiene. I dated a girl with bad dental hygiene. I didn't think it would bother me as much as it did. You know it's bad when you're scared to kiss. Being obsessed with social media or needing to document everything all the time and project a perfect version of their life. I had a boss like this. Everything was a freaking photo shoot just so she could post on social media that she could prove to her haters that she had a life. Miserable. This haters thing is basically a projection of self-hatred to other people. Truth is, nobody gives a duck. Make me feel like my feelings are invalid or that theirs are more valid than mine. My mom does it and it's crushing. Wife and I have a 2-year-old. One of the biggest new ways to parent is to validate feelings. You're sad because the dog ate your ice cream? That sucks. I would be sad too. You're mad because daddy has to go to work? Yeah, I get mad when people I love leave too. As opposed to it's okay. Get over it. Oh, it's just ice cream. Just validating alone does so much to comfort and heal. The shit my mom said is a result of the way I think / feel respond to things today. I hope I can give my daughter a slightly better view. Neat. I didn't think of that as advice, but I'm thinking back on situations I had when the kids were young, and we totally did exactly that. Just intuition. But seemed the right way to do it. Hey, bud, it's okay to be sad about this. I think I'd be sad too, but let's figure out how to fix it. K. Apostrophe. Thanks for giving it a name for me. It'll be helpful as we embark on our adoption and the next set of kids. Close bracket. Unapologetic arrogant ignorance. Narcissism. Someone who always talks, but never really says anything. Say what you mean what you say. Talking heads, you're talking a lot, but you're not saying anything. I remember when that lyric hit me for the first time and I realized the importance of his message. Also, I hate people when they're not polite. Every time I hear that line I'm like, hell yes, David Byrne probably worked customer service at some point. My man. Dishonesty. If you notice the person you're interested in tells fibs or little white lies early on, it's only going to be catastrophic once you clear the honeymoon phase. I learned they kept important information completely under wraps. It popped up and destroyed my trust in them. So not lying, but not being completely open was bad. 2. This. My partner doesn't understand the weight of being dishonest and what that means in a mature dating world. Breaks my heart at times. The need to constantly be on your phone. Totally fine with spending a lot of time on it. But if you can't put it down to watch a movie or have a conversation, then it's a problem. I can put it down for conversations. When I'm watching TV movies I tend to multitask. Currently watching Moonshiners and scrolling through Reddit. Lol. Especially if it's something I've seen before. There are definitely shows and movies I put it down for. Hell, I have some I turn my phone off for. If my BF says something along the lines of, hey, you wanna watch this? I'll put the phone away. I might have ridiculous ADHD, but I try not to be an asshole. Lol. I understand what you're saying though. Our kids will just stare at their phones/tablets and not engage at all. It is frustrating. It has made me more mindful of my phone usage. I also draw or work on crafts in lieu of playing on my phone. How do you feel about those things? I'm okay if someone is on their phone while watching a movie, but what peeves me off to no end is when they then start asking questions about what's going on cause they missed something. If they don't even attempt to get along with my friends, or watching videos on your phone, volume all the way up at a restaurant, on a double date. Believe or not, I dated a guy that did both, and I cringe thinking back on it. When anyone cranks up their tinny phone speakers in public I cringe so hard even thinking about those situations. It's so rude. I don't know what goes through people's heads that makes them think that that's okay. Not believing dinosaurs are real. That's an interesting thing to jump right to, and makes me question if this is based on experience. It is. Went on a date, girl told me dinosaurs were placed by God to test our faith, and that's why carbon dating is a trick to get you hell. There was number 2 and 8. Had this exact same date with a guy. We passed a museum that was exhibiting dinosaur bones and he laughed because they aren't real. Our dates must belong to the same church. Being rude to retail/service workers. My grandpa taught me long ago, someone who is nice to you but rude to the waiter/s is not a nice person. Apostrophe. And I have never forgotten it. Being a cheater, or being physically or emotionally abusive to me, or people and animals around me. The way a person treats their animal says a lot about them. I was seeing this guy for a couple weeks, stayed at his house for a weekend, and he had a dog. All this dog wanted was to be loved and petted and cuddled, but he would tell her no and use the shock collar, beep setting, sometimes worse, to get her away from him. I noped the duck right out of there. My dad thought I was being irrational when I told him I wasn't seeing him anymore because the way he treats his dog. If you can't love an animal who just wants your attention and love in return, I think that says a lot about the type of person you are. That's horrible. Dad needs to rethink his philosophy. Too bad you couldn't take the dog with you. Just kind of an oops, she just ran away thing. Dated a guy and the first month he was perfect and I was quickly falling for him. One day he said, my ex broke up with me and I ducked his life up for it, haha. Turned all his friends on him. Don't duck with me. He said it like it was funny and he was proud. Immediate red flag, and I instantly started thinking about how I got to break up with him. Something similar happened to me with a guy that wanted to date me. He tried to impress me by bragging about how he lied in court about his ex to get full custody of their kids and ruined her life. If he was trying to be scary, it worked. Some people are lunatics and they truly think it's normal, so they tell you that stuff thinking you'll be on their side. Littering. One time my husband threw a can out of the window. I stopped the car in the middle of the road to turn and drive back to where he threw it. I was letting him have it the whole time. Then I pulled the car over and made him walk to go pick it up. Our kids were with us, and I let them know why we don't litter. I was a Girl Scout as a kid and have volunteered to clean up roadside trash, so I was pissed. If I'm in a depressive mood, just telling me to get over it, or better yet getting mad at me for being sad. My ex would get mad at me for being depressed. He always thought it was him that was making me depressed, even though I told him many times that it wasn't. He'd just get pissed at me. Glad him away from that a-hole. I've shared this before, but one time I went out on a first date with this girl I met online. I thought she was very attractive, and we had so much common that I thought she was perfect. In addition to that, we seemed to hit off well through texts, so I figured this date would go well. We are at this bar, and she suggests we play a people watching game where we try to make up backstories for the other people there. I thought it sounded fun, especially since I played a similar game with friends on the train sometimes. Plus it felt like a good icebreaker to get us talking. Well, she managed to take all the fun out the game by being ridiculously cruel in all her assumptions for no real reason at all. It felt like she was projecting issues she had onto these people. Like one guy was sitting at the bar alone. Could have been waiting for someone. You never know. But because he was alone, he was a ducking loser with no friends that hates his life. Completely killed the mood, and I lost all interest in her after that. I just couldn't see myself going on a second date with someone like that, even if she checked all other boxes. That's a really interesting way to conduct a personality test without it feeling like a test. Did you match her stories or try to lighten the mood? How did she react to your stories? This is incredibly fascinating to me. I did my best to reel things back to a more lighthearted game, which she seemed to like and laugh at, but didn't change much with her cruel approach. Hey PSSST, please subscribe and like.